batteries in more portable form factors. Flywheels. We had a start on them on our steam engines, but they could stand a lot of improvement. Next up was the Pelton wheel. It would extract energy from the impulse of moving water, unlike water's dead weight as the traditional overshot water wheel. The Pelton wheel would be the easiest of the changes to introduce. It was simply a different shape from the water wheel now in use. I didn't plan to be anything but an advisor on these projects. Some of our budding engineers were showing promise, so they were going to get a chance to show their stuff. There was one project I was interested in, making plastics from oil. We were still using cow's milk to produce casein, but we didn't have enough cows to meet the potential need. Mirrors alone were taking all the casein production, and there weren't enough cows in the whole of England to meet the needs I foresaw. We could now ship mirrors by sea to Constantinople. We always knew the route, but had to fear pirates. With our new schooners to protect our ships, we no longer feared the sea route. I had to chuckle. The Barbary pirates would think our ships were on fire when the cannons were first fired. They would see smoke and flames from ours as their ships exploded. The many battles I had been in had warped my sense of humor. It's a wonder I wasn't a massive case of PTSD. I often thought there was something wrong with me. The carnage sickened me, but I never had nightmares about it. The worst case of PTSD I had ever encountered was at home. He was a Marine recruiter. One of his duties was to attend the funerals of soldiers killed in Vietnam. He had to hand the flag to 51 sets of parents. Talk about stress. They hated him, and it radiated from them. He finally asked to be relieved from that duty and requested a combat posting. He survived, only to carry the guilt for many years. In a way, I lightened my burden, realizing it could have been much worse for me. Others had suffered more. At least I could shoot back. Getting my thoughts back on track, I mentally reviewed what had to be done to make polypropylene or polyethylene plastics. We had the basic technology in place to manufacture both. We just had to modify the process. Molasses-like crude oil is heated over a furnace that separates the hydrocarbons into different groups. This is based on the number of atoms they contain and their resulting molecular weight. These are then put into a nearby distillation tube. The crude is vaporized, and the vapors recondense at different levels in the tower based on their molecular weight. We found the molecular weight by trial and error. The longer, typically heavier hydrocarbons sink to the bottom of the tube, while the shorter, lighter ones rise to the top. The result is several distinct groups of chemicals for various uses. One of these groups is naphtha, the primary feedstock for making plastic. It contains ethane and propane. To be made into something that can be used to build plastic, ethane and propane must be broken down from their raw hydrocarbon state into smaller units. One method is applying high heat and pressure in a zero-oxygen environment. This process, called steam cracking, breaks down the hydrocarbons into shorter molecules called monomers. We could achieve the heat and pressure, but our challenge was zero oxygen. The next step is polymerization. Then you combine chemically individual monomer ingredients in new arrangements, producing the long repeating chains known as polymers. In this case, the most basic and widely used plastics are polyethylene and polypropylene from ethylene and propylene. Polyethylene's makeup allows it to be used to make different plastics. Polypropylene's configuration makes it particularly flexible and resilient. The easiest method to create an oxygen-free environment requires palladium. Unfortunately, we don't have access to any and probably won't for a long time. Another method is air circulating in a low-pressure loop at 200 degrees Celsius with two openings, one for introducing steam and another that allows excess gases to exit. Purging this loop with steam brings down the oxygen content of this loop to 0%. So, all we had to do was separate the